On March 15, 1971, the Henderson family of Memphis was exactly 48 hours away from losing their home of 12 years when a mysterious stranger knocked on their door claiming to be interested in buying their house. What the Hendersons didn't know was that the man in the simple work clothes and baseball cap was Elvis Presley, and he was about to execute the most elaborate and heartwarming rescue mission of his entire career. By sunset that evening, the Henderson family would be saved from foreclosure. Their children would keep their bedrooms, and Elvis would have secretly orchestrated one of the most beautiful acts of anonymous generosity in music history, all while pretending to be just another real estate investor named Ed Peterson. But let me tell you how Elvis discovered the Henderson family's desperate situation and why their story moved him to take immediate action. Because what happened next proves that sometimes heroes don't wear capes. They wear disguises and work in complete secrecy to save families they've never met. It started with a newspaper. Elvis was having his morning coffee at Graceland, browsing through the Memphis Commercial Appeal, when a small article buried on page 6 caught his attention. Local family faces foreclosure after medical bills mount. The story was brief but heartbreaking. Tom Henderson, a 34-year-old mechanic at a local garage, had been unable to work for 6 months after a back injury. His wife, Patricia, had been working double shifts as a waitress to keep the family afloat while caring for their 3 children, Susan, 14, Michael, 11, and little Danny, 7. Despite Patricia's heroic efforts, the medical bills combined with Tom's lost income had put them $3,200 behind on their mortgage payments. The bank had given them until March 17th, just 2 days away, to come up with the full amount or face eviction. Tom Henderson was quoted in the article. "I've worked my whole adult life, never asked for charity, never missed a day when I was able. But sometimes life hits you in ways you can't prepare for. I just want my kids to have a place to sleep." Elvis read the article twice, then set down his coffee cup with a determined expression. He'd grown up poor in Tupelo in Memphis, remembered the fear and shame of not knowing if his family would have a roof over their heads. The idea of 3 children losing their home because their father got hurt working an honest job, that was something Elvis couldn't let happen. Within an hour, Elvis had made several phone calls. He contacted a private investigator to discreetly gather more information about the Henderson family situation. He called his accountant to arrange for immediate access to cash. And he called his friend, Jerry Schilling, with an unusual request. "Jerry," Elvis said, "I need you to teach me how to pretend to be someone else." By that afternoon, Elvis had learned everything he needed to know about the Hendersons. Tom Henderson was exactly what he appeared to be, a hard-working man who'd fallen on impossible circumstances. His injury was real, his medical bills were legitimate, and his family was facing genuine hardship through no fault of their own. The house at 1247 Maple Street was a modest 3-bedroom ranch in a working-class neighborhood, worth about $8,500. The family owed $5,200 on their mortgage, plus the $3,200 in back payments. Elvis's plan was simple but required careful execution. He would appear at their door as Ed Peterson, a real estate investor looking to buy houses in the neighborhood. He would offer to purchase their home for enough money to pay off all their debts, then immediately offer to rent it back to them at an affordable rate with an option to buy it back when they got on their feet. To the Hendersons, it would look like a legitimate business transaction. To Elvis, it would be a way to save a family without making them feel like charity cases. Elvis spent hours perfecting his disguise and cover story. He borrowed work clothes from one of his groundskeepers, studied real estate terminology, and practiced speaking in a slightly different accent. Jerry Schilling would pose as his assistant, and they'd arrive in an ordinary pickup truck instead of Elvis's usual Cadillac. "You sure about this?" Jerry asked as they prepared to drive to Maple Street. "This is pretty elaborate for people you've never met." "Jerry," Elvis replied, adjusting his baseball cap and checking his appearance in the mirror, "I've got more money than I can spend in 10 lifetimes. The Henderson family is about to lose their home because Tom got hurt at work. If I can fix that without anyone knowing it was me, Why wouldn't I? At 4:30 p.m. on March 15th, Elvis knocked on the Henderson family's front door. When Patricia Henderson answered, she saw a man in his mid-30s wearing work clothes and a friendly smile. "Mrs. Henderson, I'm Ed Peterson, and this is my associate, Jerry. We're real estate investors, and we understand you might be interested in selling your home." Patricia's face immediately showed the strain she'd been under. We got a call about this, but I thought it might be some kind of scam. People don't usually want to buy houses from folks about to lose them. Ma'am, we're legitimate investors. We buy houses in situations like yours and try to work out arrangements that help everybody. Could we come in and talk? I think we might have a solution that could help your family. Patricia led them into the small but well-maintained living room where Tom was sitting in a chair with his back brace, trying to hide the pain and embarrassment of being unable to work. The children were doing homework at the kitchen table, occasionally glancing over with the worried expressions that children wear when they know their parents are scared. "Mr. Henderson," Elvis said, shaking Tom's hand, "I understand you're dealing with some medical issues. I want you to know we're not here to take advantage of your situation. We're here to see if we can help." Tom studied the stranger carefully. "Mr. Peterson, I appreciate that, but we're not looking for charity. We're just in a tight spot temporarily. And I respect that. What I'm proposing isn't charity, it's business. Let me explain." Over the next hour, Elvis laid out his proposal. He would purchase their home for $12,000, enough to pay off their mortgage, cover the back payments, pay off Tom's medical bills, and leave them with some emergency savings. Then, he would immediately rent the house back to them for $85 per month, less than half what their mortgage payment had been. "There's one more thing," Elvis said. "The rental agreement includes an option for you to buy the house back from me within 5 years at the same price I'm paying for it. So essentially, you'd be making payments to eventually own your home again, but at a rate you can afford while Tom recovers." Tom and Patricia stared at him in disbelief. "Mr. Peterson," Patricia said, her voice shaking, "people don't do business this way. What's in it for you?" Elvis had prepared for this question. "Mrs. Henderson, I make money by buying houses, fixing them up, and renting them out. Your house is in great condition. I can see you take care of it. Having reliable tenants like your family, people who treat the property like it's their own because it used to be, that's valuable to me. And knowing I'm helping a family stay together instead of putting them on the street, that makes it easier for me to sleep at night." It was true, even if it wasn't the whole truth. Tom looked at his wife, then at his children still doing homework in the kitchen, unaware that their lives were about to change dramatically. "Mr. Peterson, if we agree to this, when would we need to sign papers? The bank wants their money by day after tomorrow." "We can have everything ready by tomorrow afternoon. My lawyer can meet us at the bank. We'll handle all the paperwork, and you'll have your deed clear and your rental agreement signed before the bank closes." If you're feeling the relief this family must have felt hearing those words, please hit that subscribe button. This rescue mission was just getting started, and there are more incredible stories of Elvis's secret generosity coming. The next day, March 16th, Elvis and Jerry arrived at First National Bank of Memphis with Tom and Patricia Henderson. Elvis's lawyer, who had been sworn to secrecy about his client's real identity, had prepared all the necessary documents. Tom Henderson watched in amazement as Ed Peterson handed over a cashier's check for $12,000, clearing their debt completely. The bank manager, who had been prepared to start foreclosure proceedings the next day, instead found himself processing a full payoff and transfer of deed. When they walked out of the bank, Patricia Henderson broke down crying in the parking lot. "Mr. Peterson," she said through her tears, "I don't understand why you're doing this for us, but you've saved our family. Our children get to stay in their home, in their school district, with their friends. You've given us our lives back." Elvis felt his own throat tighten with emotion. "Mrs. Henderson, sometimes we get opportunities to help each other. I'm just glad this worked out for everyone." But Elvis wasn't finished. Over the following weeks, he made several more anonymous interventions in the Henderson family's life. When Tom needed physical therapy that insurance wouldn't fully cover, Ed Peterson's company happened to have excellent health benefits that covered tenants. When Patricia's car broke down, Ed Peterson mentioned that his rental properties came with a maintenance fund that could cover tenant transportation issues. For 3 years, the Henderson family thrived under their arrangement with their mysterious landlord. Tom recovered from his injury and returned to work. Patricia was able to reduce her hours and spend more time with the children. The kids excelled in school, and the family began saving money to eventually buy their house back. In 1974, Elvis was scheduled to perform at the Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis. On impulse, he had Jerry anonymously send 4 tickets to the Henderson family with a note, "From your landlord, enjoy the show." The Hendersons were thrilled to attend an Elvis concert. They had no idea they were about to discover the truth about their savior. During the concert, Elvis was talking to the audience about Memphis, about home, about the importance of helping your neighbors. As he spoke, he happened to look directly at the Henderson family in their seats. Patricia Henderson looked at Elvis Presley on stage, then turned to her husband with a strange expression. "Tom," she whispered, "doesn't he remind you of someone?" Tom studied Elvis's face, his mannerisms, the way he spoke. Suddenly, his eyes widened. Patricia, Ed Peterson, the way he smiled, the way he talked about helping families. The realization hit them both at the same moment. Their landlord, their savior, the man who had saved their home and their family, was Elvis Presley. After the concert, the Hendersons waited by the stage door, hoping for a chance to speak with Elvis. When he finally emerged, they approached nervously. "Mr. Presley," Patricia said quietly, we think we need to thank Ed Peterson." Elvis looked at them, saw the recognition in their eyes, and smiled. "I don't know what you mean, ma'am." "The rental house on Maple Street," Tom said. "The man who saved our family 3 years ago?" Elvis glanced around, then gestured for them to follow him to a quieter area. "How did you know?" he asked finally. "Your smile," Patricia said, "and your heart. Ed Peterson cared about our family the same way Elvis Presley cares about people in his music." Elvis was quiet for a moment. "I hope Ed Peterson was able to help when you needed it." "He saved our lives," Tom said simply. "And we've been wondering for 3 years why a stranger would be so generous." "Maybe he wasn't a stranger," Elvis replied. "Maybe he was just someone who remembered what it felt like to be scared about having a place to live." The Henderson family kept Elvis's secret, never speaking publicly about their landlord's real identity. They continued to rent their home from Peterson Properties and eventually exercised their option to buy it back in 1976, exactly as Elvis had promised. Tom Henderson worked for 30 more years as a mechanic, never forgetting that his family's stability came from the kindness of someone who could have ignored their newspaper story, but chose to act instead. Patricia Henderson became a volunteer coordinator for a local charity helping families facing foreclosure, using her own experience to identify and assist families in similar situations. Their children grew up understanding that sometimes angels come disguised as ordinary people, and that those who have the ability to help others have the responsibility to do so. Elvis continued to read the local newspaper every morning and over the years quietly intervened in dozens of similar situations, always anonymously, always through intermediaries, always in ways that preserved the dignity of the families he helped. Have you ever received unexpected help when you needed it most, maybe from someone who preferred to remain anonymous? Or have you had the chance to help a family in crisis? Tell us about those moments in the comments. Let's celebrate the secret heroes who save families without seeking recognition. If this story reminded you that real generosity often happens in secret, make sure you're subscribed for more incredible stories about hidden acts of kindness. Hit that notification bell for stories about the heroes who work behind the scenes to make the world a little better. The most important thing Elvis learned from the Henderson family wasn't something they taught him. It was something he discovered about himself. He learned that the greatest satisfaction didn't come from the applause of thousands, but from the tears of relief on a mother's face when she realized her children could stay in their home. Sometimes, heroism isn't about grand gestures or public recognition. Sometimes it's about reading a newspaper story about strangers in trouble and deciding that you have the power to change their lives. then doing it so quietly that they never know who saved them until years later, when they recognize your smile in a crowded arena and understand that kindness, like good music, has a signature all its own.